do you feel that, when people look at that and they're like, it's possible that happened, do you feel that that reflects the worries they have about what's happening here? Like, people are afraid that this is like...
I haven't done too many interviews where I've been accused of like...
Oh, I'm not accusing you at all. I'm just saying his mother says that. I don't think a fair read of the evidence suggests suicide at all. I just don't see that at all. And I also don't understand why the authorities, when there's signs of a struggle and blood in 2 rooms on a suicide, like, how does that actually happen? I don't understand how the authorities could just kind of dismiss that as a suicide. I think it's weird.
You understand how this sounds like an accusation?
Of course. And I certainly, let me just be clear once again, not accusing you of any wrongdoing, but...
Tucker Carlson sat down with Sam Altman in an interview here. Let me pull that up here. All right, so this exchange was absolutely insane, okay? So basically, Tucker Carlson sitting down with Sam Altman, and he more or less sort of accuses him of potentially being involved in the death of a whistleblower from December of 2023, I believe. And man, this exchange was wild, because you could see the body language shift, and you got to give it up to Tucker in terms of doing these types of interviews where he really cuts to the meat of the bone here. And so I'm going to play this clip here. It's going to be about, I think, 3 minutes long, but I think it's worth watching the whole thing here.
So you had complaints from one programmer who said you guys were basically stealing people's stuff and not paying them, and then he wound up murdered. What was that?
Also a great tragedy. He committed suicide.
Do you think he committed suicide?
I really do.
Have you looked?
This was like a friend of mine. This is like a guy that, and not a close friend, but this is someone that worked at OpenAI for a very long time. I was really shaken by this tragedy. I spent a lot of time trying to, read everything I could, as I'm sure you and others did too, about what happened. It looks like a suicide to me.
Why does it look like a suicide?
It was a gun he had purchased. It was this is like gruesome to talk about, but I read the whole medical record. Does it not look like one to you?
No, he was definitely murdered, I think. There were signs of a struggle, of course. The surveillance camera, the wires had been cut. He had just ordered takeout food, come back from a vacation with his friends on Catalina Island. No indication at all that he was suicidal, no note, and no behavior. He had just spoken to a family member on the phone, and then he's found dead with blood in multiple rooms. So that's impossible. Seems really obvious he was murdered. Have you talked to the authorities about it?
I have not talked to the authorities about it.
And his mother claims he was murdered on your orders.
Do you believe that?
I'm asking.
You just said it. So do you believe that?
I think that it is worth looking into, and if a guy comes out and accuses your company of committing crimes, I have no idea if that's true or not, of course, and then is found killed and there are signs of a struggle, I don't think it's worth dismissing it. I don't think we should say, well, he killed himself when there's no evidence that the guy was depressed at all. I think, and if he was your friend, I would think you would want to speak to his mom or...
I did offer, she didn't want to.
So, do you feel that, when people look at that and they're like, it's possible that happened, do you feel that that reflects the worries they have about what's happening here? Like, people are afraid that this is like...
I haven't done too many interviews where I've been accused of like...
Oh, I'm not accusing you at all. I'm just saying his mother says that. I don't think a fair read of the evidence suggests suicide at all. I just don't see that at all. And I also don't understand why the authorities, when there's signs of a struggle and blood in 2 rooms on a suicide, like, how does that actually happen? I don't understand how the authorities could just kind of dismiss that as a suicide. I think it's weird.
You understand how this sounds like an accusation?
Of course. And I certainly, let me just be clear once again, not accusing you of any wrongdoing, but I think it's worth finding out what happened. And I don't understand why the city of San Francisco has refused to investigate it beyond just calling it a suicide.
I mean, I think they looked into it a couple of times, more than once, as I understand it. I saw and I will totally say, when I first heard about this, it sounded very suspicious to me.
Yes.
And I know you had been involved in.
Was mother
You were
reached
asked to look
out
into
to
the
it.
case.
And I don't know anything about it. It's not my world.
She just reached out cold?
She reached out cold.
Wow.
And I spoke to her at great length, and it scared the crap out of me. The kid was clearly killed by somebody. That was my conclusion, objectively, with no skin in the game.
And you, after reading the latest report,
Yes.
like, look,
I immediately called a member of Congress from California, Ro Khanna, and said, this is crazy. You got to look into this. And nothing ever happened. And I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. What is that? So just to give people a little bit more context on this story here. So this is a thread that I wrote back in December of last year here. Breaking: OpenAI whistleblower Suchir Balaji, a 26-year-old researcher, was found dead in his San Francisco apartment. Here's what we know about the circumstances surrounding his death and the allegations he made against Sam Altman's blockbuster AI company. So this was ruled an apparent suicide by the SFPD. They say that the officers and medics went to Balaji's at 1:15 p.m. on November 26th for a wellness check. When they did arrive on scene, they located a deceased adult male with, quote, no evidence of foul play that was found during the initial investigation. Now, Balaji's death comes 3 months after he publicly accused OpenAI of violating U.S. copyright law while developing ChatGPT. And the information he held was expected to play a key part in lawsuits against the San Francisco-based company. Now, Balaji spent nearly 4 years as an AI researcher at OpenAI, but in August of 2024, he left OpenAI because he no longer wanted to contribute to technologies that he believed would bring society more harm than benefit. And in October, Balaji told the New York Times, quote, ChatGPT and other chatbots are destroying the commercial viability of the individuals, businesses, and internet services that created the digital data used to train these AI systems. Now, in terms of the actual technology here, in October of 2023, Balaji posted an essay on his personal site in which he proves through a mathematical analysis that ChatGPT had broken copyright laws. Quote, the outputs aren't exactly copies of the inputs, but they are not fundamentally novel. And Balaji argued that the technology violates the law because in many cases it directly competes with the copyrighted works it learned from, with a model designed to imitate basically anything on the internet. Sam Altman disagrees with that, saying that we built our AI models using publicly available data in a manner protected by fair use and related principles and supported by long-standing and widely accepted legal precedents. Now, one thing to really hone in on here is that OpenAI was once a nonprofit business, but it is now transitioning to a for-profit business. And last September, it was announced that OpenAI was set to remove the nonprofit control and give Sam Altman equity as part of a larger transition from becoming a for-profit company with tens of billions of dollars at stake. And in terms of the total AI business, it's probably trillions of dollars at stake here. So this is what's at stake here. Balaji's death comes at a critical period for the now multi-billion-dollar blockbuster company, which now boasts hundreds of millions of users worldwide. There's certainly a lot more details to come here. So this is still an open case here. So I want to bring on actually our special guest for today, which is Purnima and Balaji, the parents of Suchir Balaji, just to give their side of the story and to clear up some of the comments that Sam Altman made in regards to the allegations, and just to tell us, what exactly happened that day. What were the forensic analysis saying that's different than the San Francisco Police Department. So just welcome to the show, Purnima and Balaji.
Thank you. And we did a lot of investigation. We got the toxicology report, 1,200 pages. We sent it to chief toxicologist of Alabama. He came back and he said the alcohol level was very high combined with GHB. That's rupee.
Oh yeah. So before we start there, can you just tell us kind of what happened on the day of, in terms of like showing up at the site? Because I know we've chatted before, and that you said that the police very quickly, within a matter of minutes, ruled that it was a suicide.
Yes, that's very true. Less than 5 minutes. You know what? Another thing the data I had is at 2 o'clock, SFBD senior officers told me, we're waiting for 2 more officers. It will take 3 or 4 hours. You go to your home, ma'am will inform you. I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying back. Instead of taking 3 to 4 hours, they concluded in 40 minutes. And to call it suicide, I have the video I can share with the viewers, but it's little gross. I can mask up the people in pieces and share it. 3 minutes. They go, they see a brown skin there, they come and say he shot himself. Right next second, SFPD officer doesn't wear the gloves. He goes and touches the gun box. And then they don't even see what was there in the CCTV. If they had seen the CCTV camera, they would have seen him happily bringing his food, happily coming back from vacation. That was both on 22nd. Despite of being happy, where did they get that he was depressed? And you know what? We were in whistleblowers conference yesterday, and we had the same argument there. It takes a long time for someone to become depressed and suicidal. He was happy. He just quit his job. He had tons of money in the bank. He had a great career. He just came back vacationing. He was motorcycling. He was walking every day. He was fit. He was constantly meeting people. This urgent killing came November 20th and 21st. He decided to do an affidavit on Monday, 25th November. They didn't want that. So they killed him. And this is not a very well done job because there are wounds on his body and there
So
is
yeah,
blood
can you
in.
talk a little bit about some of the evidence that has come out in terms of it not being a suicide? I understand that there was blood in multiple rooms of the apartment. I know this is probably difficult for you guys to talk about still, but blood in in multiple rooms of the apartment. There was signs of a struggle. His food was kind of thrown all over the place, and there was also, I believe, according to the forensic analysis document that I saw, that there was possibly more than one bullet in his brain. So can you guys talk a little bit about that and your findings versus the official findings of the SFPD?
7:12, and he was in a good mood, and not any depression. I can't see anything in that. He was returning from the vacation with his friends. His birthday was one day before, and he was in a good mood. I asked him where he went and how it was trip and who are these friends went with him. He explained everything in a normal tone, and it was a very I mean, you can say you want to go to see us. This is a technology conference in Las Vegas. We were planned for that. He agreed for that to come with me. So those are the normal conversation we had, and there's no sign of what they are projecting.
So coming back to the evidences, what we have is we have a ballistic report that was constructed with a boy who's about 5'9" and 140 pounds. They made him sit down and shoot and show the position. The victim was made to sit down and the shooter was standing up. We can also confirm that from the blood spatter in the bathroom. So what they are saying, he stood and shot himself. There should be multiple spatters in the wall and on the mirror. No, that was not the case. That's the first thing. So when he sat down and they shot him, there's a wound on the back of his head here. How did that happen? And then our doctor, he's recorded in the semi forensic report. And in one of the Zoom calls, the doctor who did the private autopsy said they punched Suchir on his face. He does have a different opinion about the second bullet theory, but we consulted with two forensic radiologists, and both of them said it's a second bullet. And it's more than a small piece, it's a huge metal piece. And we also know that he was punched and there is bleeding from his mouth, and we can see the food on his t-shirt and on his leg. So it's very hard to see.
So what happened? So then the San Francisco Police Department is just ignoring all of this evidence, or what's going on with their investigation?
They, what they did? They just did not even do a crime scene investigation. They didn't hire a blood spatter expert. We don't have any report on it. That is where they've covered up. If they had brought a proper blood spatter expert, proper crime scene investigator, they never came back to the crime scene. They just handed over the case.
So can I ask you, what do you think is in it for the San Francisco Police Department to ignore the evidence and to seem to jump to conclusions in this case. And what do you think's in it for them, and why do you think they're doing that?
They have been told to do that. The reason being is there is an officer that allots the budgets for police, right? A week before, did not say that chat. On Twitter, he praised Sam Altman openly. And we also know that Daniel Lurie was coming in as a mayor. And then Sam Altman was on the transition committee. He spent a lot of money on his election and his um, onboarding. We see a play here, and corresponding to that, if you observe what Sam Altman says, he said there were multiple investigations. There was only one investigation. Then he says there were two reports. There was only one report. If he says two reports, then obviously there was one report of homicide. Then they turned it into suicide. We've only seen one report. Okay. And what police did was, it was his gun. That's what Sam Altman said. Yes, it's his gun. But can he shoot himself in that angle? No, he cannot. And if he shot himself, why would there be so much blood, in every room? And why there is so many wounds on his body, signs of struggle? And why would there be date rape drug? And we did search everywhere. We searched his account. We checked with his friends. There was no purchase made, and it was not found by SFPD. Where did the date rape drug come from? And there was a liquid bottle, Gatorade bottle, which has some suspicious liquid in it.
And so, what is your reaction to Sam Altman? I don't think he's capable of answering a question without seeming completely guilty of something, and he's hiding something, and he's lying. He just seems, he almost seems inhuman in a lot of ways to me. What is your response to his interview with Tucker Carlson?
You know what? Actually, I would want to question Sam on his face. Your statement says, I'm convinced it's a suicide. That is the biggest risk for him, the whole statement. You know why? A responsible CEO of a company who's responsible for his employee would say, this was told by the authorities, and the sentence he made, I am convinced this is a suicide, means he made it suicide. And the reason we believe it is December 29th, Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Police called our attorney and said it's a homicide. He handed it over to homicide unit. Next day, the same attorney called and said it's a suicide. So
they did 1 day, investigation. That's all they did. They opened the case because the public pressure was there. Just opened and closed it immediately. They just did some online search. Say he was a whistleblower. That's all we know. That's all. They didn't go beyond that.
They were supposed to interview the mother or the father, right, to understand. And then we gave all the friends' phone numbers. Talk to them how he was 1 week before. Talk to neighbors. Talk to leasing office. They didn't do any of that. They didn't look at his devices.
Yeah, CCTV camera recording also they didn't collect. Without collecting, they gave a statement. We saw the CCTV camera recording, and we conclude there is nobody came out. That is their own story they are telling. When we asked the apartment people, they told they didn't collect anything.
And another point.
So, quick question for you. In terms of like the reaction to Sam Altman speaking to Tucker Carlson, in it he said that he tried to reach out to you guys, but you guys didn't want to talk to him. Is there a reason why you, or is that true? And if so, is there a reason why you didn't want to meet with Sam Altman?
We doubted OpenAI is responsible from the beginning. When our heart is bleeding, why would we want to talk to them? And also, it was very suspicious for us because HR sent an email saying that we want to, grant you stock options. We want to get you on the Zoom call immediately. And then we said we have a probate attorney, talk to her. Second time,
so he offered you guys stock options?
Yes. And also the second time, we sent a letter through our attorney for non-spoliation. Response to that, their attorney said, Sam wants to talk to the parents. Let us know if you want to accept this offer. What offer is it? Is it cash? Is it stock?
Does that sound like kind of a hush money payment, sort of?
They want to silence us. And you think
Right.
we are the parents?
And
want
so,
to take money.
do you have a theory of what's actually going on? Do you feel like Sam Altman is involved, or what is your theory on this?
One thing is for sure, this is a murder, and if the news came out, OpenAI will face a lot of harm, lot of criticism. So no matter who did, cover up is by Sam Altman.
And Suchir has mentioned in his notes, it's not a good positive thing about the OpenAI culture. It is all murky environment there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they are doing something which he didn't like, what some unethical things. That is the thing he has noted in his notes. So that shows he is against Sam, but not his friend.
He's not friend of Sam. He writes lot of negative things about him, and even HR sent a letter to her. They just cross the path sometime. They never talk to each other. Why does Sam call him to be a friend? Oh.
Yeah, he is mentioned as a snake oil merchant. That's it.
And last week, Suchir was talking about two things. It seems. One is how proud he is about the New York Times interview. He was bragging. And then how bad Sam Altman is. We have the chat from his friends.
So yeah, it seems like there's a lot of evidence out there that's not being considered. So I know you guys have filed a lawsuit against, I think, the SFPD. What are the next steps here in terms of, I guess, seeking justice?
We have multiple steps planned. Number one, we want to bring a civil rights lawsuit against Corona. That's the first step because they violated his rights for justice. It's an obstruction of justice. And we want to demand coroner injunction. What that means is we want the coroner to evaluate the forensic evidence in the courtroom in front of public. We will have the press come there at that time. That's one thing. And the second thing is we are suing the apartment complex, Alchemy, because after the body was removed, they had access to the apartment, they have entered, there is damage to the property. One cartridge is stolen, his gun box was misplaced. How did those two? And we didn't know initially that the damages were there, not there before. Now, when we got the SFPD's body cam sometime in March or April, then we learned when we go through our crime scene investigator said, I didn't see the dent and damage before. Where did this come from? So violation of like CCTV camera stopped working and illegal access to the apartment, and the apartment manager gave wrong information, misleading information. That's an obstruction to justice. So that's the second step. And then third one is a wrongful death. We're still gathering more information towards it. We want New York Times to release why did Suchir say, why did you publish? He said, if you believe what I believe, you must quit your job. Why did he say that? What's the background information? That will give us information about why he left OpenAI and what's that information that they silenced him against. Once we have all this information, it's not too far before we sue. Of course, OpenAI.
In my opinion, this is a stage one.
Yes.
He was on vacation 7 days. They know he's on vacation. They cooperate, this apartment people cooperate, gave the key and make these people stage this by cutting the wires of the CCTV camera. And also, the book we found is Bhagavad Gita. It was, Suchi doesn't read that much on Bhagavad Gita and spiritual things, but it was kept on his table. And also, they state the about brain activity. He was looking to how to angle that. He was looking at a research on brain, which is useful for AI. They made that as a suicidal note and they put that. That is very wrong. All the signs of planned murder, they staged it within 7 days. Then they did it when he came back from vacation.
That part actually, there's some more clarity that I can give. November 9th, Suchir went into the same website. I think it's called something bio or something. Like he had his entire body MRI taken. He was validating his brain information. And then he was also validating gray matter, white matter, because he was working on neuroscience. He wanted to do something combining reinforced learning and neuroscience. That was his project. And I can prove it by showing that it was from November 9th. And at the same time, there are a lot of suspicious things. He saw something. Suchir saw something when he went to pick up dinner. He's looking around suspiciously in the last video. And as soon as he hung up call with dad, he was searching for a rifle to protect himself. Why police are hiding this? He was looking for a rifle and he writes a journal line, I'm a credible threat because of New York Times. And he also writes, Jesus was crucified because he was so pure.
No, I could use
Wow. Well, I mean, I can't imagine how tough this year must have been for you guys, just dealing with this and having, you know, the public pressure and talking and doing these kinds of interviews must not be easy. So I really appreciate you guys for coming on the show. Jimmy, any final questions before we let them go?
No, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Purnima. Thank you, Balaji. Appreciate it. And keep us updated in terms of the lawsuit, the cases, and you know, we wish you guys the very, very best.
Absolutely, yes. It's not too far. We are doing our own investigation and we have to combine all these with another PI. Once we do that, once we have the report ready, we have more than one attorney, two major attorneys. They're ready to take the case. It's not too far.
Thank you for hosting us.
And thank you for hosting us and really means a lot to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. What do you think, Jimmy?
Well, I saw Glenn Greenwald say that Sam Altman is incapable of answering a question without looking guilty of something. Or I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly, yeah. I mean, it's the good old corruption. He makes a campaign donation, and they say, "Hey, botch this investigation, wrap it up," and that's exactly what they do. So
because I want to go over some of this evidence too, because it's very interesting. Like they talk about, like, you know, multiple metallic fragments lodged in his skull here, which is, I guess, virtually impossible in a suicide. But I guess that also happened to Gary Webb, I believe.
Yeah. So apparently, this thing about if you shoot yourself in the head twice, a lot of people are convinced that happens. I'm unconvinced that that's a real thing. The fact that, you know, that Gary Webb shot himself in the head twice, and then, you know, they have experts that say, no, that happens sometimes. They don't kill themselves the first time and then they shoot themselves again in the head. That's kind of hard to believe, and so I remain unconvinced. You know,
and I don't have the diagram here, but I don't know if you heard the mother saying, but he was shot from this angle. It's almost impossible to fire a gun from that angle.
I mean, this stinks to high heaven, and it's obviously looks like a murder to anybody who looks at it objectively. So this guy was about to, you know, blow the whistle on a big money operation, and they can't have that.
No. And the date rape drug, right? Extremely high levels of GHB in the system, which is very peculiar. I mean, at the very least, you could say that the police could not have possibly determined this to be a suicide within 30 minutes. You know, if there was a month, you know, 2 of investigation, okay, maybe. But just to say, oh, yep, we saw it, we're done, and to move on seems to be, there's something weird here.
It's like they got their orders.
Right, and the food was throwing all the food on the ground. I don't have the
none of this adds up, James. None of it adds up. Yeah, and especially that interview that Sam Altman did with Tucker. That certainly wow. That smells.
He's like, are you accusing? It's like, no, I would never. But I would never. But you know, there's the blood splatter in multiple rooms, but in this and that. You know, Tucker's. I have to give him some credit for the finesse of that.
Yeah.
Come see me on tour in Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.